Mr. Arthur Sterling's office is not a room, it is a declaration of war. It is a war against humility, a war against subtlety, a war against the very idea that any other man on the 72nd floor, or perhaps the entire planet, could be his equal. The desk is not wood, but a slab of polished obsidian so vast and black it seems to drink the light from the room, a miniature black hole of ego. Behind it, a wall of glass offers a god's eye view of the city, a sprawling map of his dominion. The buildings below are not architecture, they are subjects, bowing to his window. He is a king, and this is his throne room, a kingdom built of steel, glass, and the pulverized dreams of lesser men. Sterling himself is a man carved from granite and prejudice. His suits are Italian, his watch is Swiss, and his condescension is homegrown, pure American-made arrogance. He doesn't walk, he proceeds. He doesn't speak, he proclaims. His voice is a boom, a sonic weapon designed to shrink others, to make them feel their smallness in his cavernous presence. He believes in two things, the infallibility of his own gut and the inherent inferiority of anyone who does not own a company, a yacht, or at least a summer home in the Hamptons. Into this kingdom, every night, pushes Marcus Thorne. Marcus is a ghost in a gray uniform. He is the invisible force that makes the kingdom shine. He pushes a cart whose squeaking wheel is the only sound that announces his presence, a sound Sterling has trained his ear to ignore as completely as he ignores the pigeons on his window ledge. Marcus's job is to erase the day. He empties trash cans filled with shredded ambitions, wipes away the fingerprints of sycophants from glass conference tables, and vacuums the plush carpet that cushions the boots of power. He is quiet. He is methodical. He is, to Arthur Sterling and the entire executive suite, a piece of the building's infrastructure, no more a person than the elevator or the air conditioning unit. They see the uniform, the dark skin, the quiet deference, and their minds stop there. They see a janitor. They do not see the mind behind the man's weary eyes, a mind that moves with the silent, complex precision of a grandmaster playing chess on a board no one else can see. Marcus sees things. While cleaning the boardroom, he sees the discarded projections, the scrawled notes on whiteboards. He hears the echoes of the day's arguments, the boasts and the bluffs. He sees the waste. He sees the inefficiencies, the gaping holes in Sterling Industries' logistics that bleed money like a severed artery. He sees a supply chain held together with ego and outdated assumptions. He sees a company slowly, elegantly, confidently marching itself off a cliff. And he has an idea. It is not a small idea. It is a brilliant, intricate, and revolutionary idea for streamlining the company's entire distribution network. He has spent months on it during his breaks, sketching flowcharts on napkins, running numbers in a worn notebook he keeps in his locker. He has refined it, polished it, made it perfect. It could save the company millions. Tens of millions. He knows approaching the king is a fool's errand. But the squeaking wheel on his cart reminds him that sometimes, the things that are ignored are the things that most need fixing. He believes, with a naivety that will soon be scorched out of him, that a good idea is its own authority. He waits for his moment. It comes on a Tuesday night. Sterling is working late, his office door ajar, the light spilling into the darkened hallway like a challenge. He is bellowing into his phone at some unfortunate subordinate on the other side of the world. Marcus takes a deep breath, the scent of lemon-scented cleaner filling his lungs like false courage. He pushes his cart to the doorway and waits. When Sterling finally slams the phone down, the sound cracks through the silence. "What?" he barks, not looking up from his computer screen. He assumes it's a security guard, or some other nocturnal functionary. "Mr. Sterling." Marcus's voice is soft, hesitant. It feels alien in this space. Sterling's head snaps up. His eyes narrow. He looks at Marcus, then at the cart, and a sneer begins to form on his lips, a masterpiece of casual cruelty. "You're the janitor. What do you want? Did you run out of wax? Is there a spill I should know about? Spit it out." Marcus's hands tighten on the handle of his cart. He forces himself to meet the man's gaze. "Sir, I was cleaning the boardroom earlier. I overheard some of the discussion about the shipping delays from the West Coast hubs." Sterling leans back in his chair, a slow, dangerous movement. He steeples his fingers. The sneer blossoms into a full, predatory grin. "This is new. This is amusing. The help has an opinion. You were eavesdropping." While you were emptying my trash. How wonderfully enterprising of you. Go on. Entertain me. It's not eavesdropping, sir. The walls are thin, Marcus says, his voice steady. I have an idea. About the distribution network. A way to reroute the freight through centralized sorting facilities, using algorithmic batching to reduce layover times. It could cut shipping costs by 30% and delivery times by half. He says it plainly. A statement of fact. For a moment, Sterling is silent. He stares at Marcus, his mind trying to process the sheer audacity. The janitor is talking about algorithmic batching. The man who mops his floors is critiquing his logistical infrastructure. The absurdity of it is so immense, so profound, that it strikes him as the funniest thing he has ever heard. A low chuckle starts in his chest. It rumbles, growing louder, until it erupts into a full-throated, booming laugh that echoes off the glass wall behind him. It is not a laugh of joy. It is a laugh of ridicule, a weapon meant to obliterate. He slaps his obsidian desk, the sound like a gunshot. Oh, that is rich, he roars, wiping a tear of mirth from his eye. That is priceless. The janitor has a plan. Jenkins, he yells, his voice carrying down the hall. Peterson. Get in here. You have to hear this. Two junior executives, eager to curry favor, scurry into the office, their faces a mixture of confusion and anxiety. Sterling points a thumb at Marcus, who stands frozen in the doorway, the cart his only shield. Gentlemen, meet our new vice president of, what was it? Algorithmic batching. He laughs again, a cruel, barking sound. Marcus here, when he's not battling dust bunnies, has been redesigning our entire corporate strategy. Tell them your little idea, Marcus. Go on. Don't be shy. The two executives exchange nervous glances. They look at Sterling's gleeful, mocking face, then at Marcus's stoic, humiliated silence. They know what is required of them. They begin to snicker. A 30% savings, you say? Peterson, the younger of the two, says with a smirk. Wow. Why didn't our Wharton-educated logistics team think of that? Maybe we should put him in charge, Arthur, Jenkins adds, playing his part. He could probably run the company with a mop and a bucket. The office fills with their sycophantic laughter. Marcus feels the heat rise in his cheeks. He feels the eyes of the city watching him through the great glass window. He is small. He is a joke. The brilliant idea in his head feels like a lead weight in his stomach. He had thought to offer a gift, and they were treating it like garbage. All right, that's enough, Sterling says, waving them off. He turns his attention back to Marcus, his eyes cold and hard now that the performance is over. The humor is gone, replaced by a chilling disdain. Let me give you a piece of advice. Stick to your job. Your job is to be invisible. Your job is to clean up the messes that important people make. You are not paid to think. You are certainly not paid to have ideas. Do you understand me? Marcus says nothing. He just nods, a single, tight jerk of his head. Good, Sterling says, turning back to his computer, the dismissal absolute. Now get out. The smell of bleach is distracting me. Marcus pulls his cart back into the hallway. The laughter of the executives follows him, sharp and painful as broken glass. He continues his rounds, his movements as silent and methodical as ever. But inside, something has changed. A quiet, patient resolve has been replaced by a cold, burning ember. He had offered his help. They had spat on it. He had shown them a path to salvation. They had laughed in his face. Fine. He would let them walk off the cliff. And he would be waiting at the bottom to salvage the wreckage. The humiliation does not end that night. It becomes a theme. A running gag. Sterling, delighted with his new source of amusement, makes the janitor's idea a punchline in executive meetings. Having trouble with the quarterly numbers, Henderson, he would boom across the boardroom table. Why don't you ask Marcus down in maintenance? I hear he's a wizard with logistics. The room would fill with the obligatory, nervous laughter of men who feared being the next target. He takes it further. One afternoon, as Marcus is cleaning the executive lounge, Sterling strides in with a potential investor, a man in an expensive but ill-fitting suit. And this, Sterling announces with a grand, sweeping gesture toward Marcus, is the heart of our innovation department. Marcus, tell Mr. Abernathy your brilliant idea for saving the company. Marcus stops polishing the chrome coffee machine. He looks at Sterling's smug face, then at the confused investor. He says nothing. His silence is a wall. Cat got your tongue. Sterling chuckles, clapping the investor on the back. He's a shy genius. The point is, Abernathy, we foster ideas from every level here at Sterling Industries. From the boardroom to the boiler room. It's a culture of innovation. It is a lie so bald, so audacious, that it leaves Marcus breathless. Sterling is using his humiliation as a marketing tool, twisting the knife for sport and profit. The other employees learn their lesson quickly. The ones who might have offered a sympathetic glance now look away when Marcus passes. They are afraid of the king's displeasure. To be associated with the janitor is to be associated with the joke. Marcus becomes more than invisible, he becomes a pariah. He walks the gleaming hallways in a bubble of enforced solitude, the squeak of his cart his only companion. He continues to do his job. Impeccably. The building has never been cleaner. But at night, in his small apartment, the worn notebook comes out. The plans he's sketching are no longer just about logistics. They are bigger now. More ambitious. The humiliation has not broken him, it has focused him. It has burned away the naive belief that merit alone is enough. He understands now. Power does not listen to ideas. Power only listens to power. So, he will get power. The breaking point arrives on a Thursday. It is the end of a long, grueling week. Sterling has lost a major contract, and his mood is black as the obsidian on his desk. He stalks the halls like a caged tiger, looking for someone to devour. He finds Marcus in a supply closet, taking his 15-minute break. Marcus is sitting on an overturned bucket, his notebook open on his lap, a pen flying across the page. He is so engrossed in his work, a complex analysis of Sterling Industries' debt structure and asset vulnerabilities, that he doesn't hear the CEO approach. What is this? Sterling's voice cuts through the quiet closet. Marcus looks up, startled. Before he can react, Sterling snatches the notebook from his hands. Marcus stands, a protest dying on his lips. Sterling holds the notebook like it's a piece of filth. He flips through the pages, his eyes scanning the dense columns of numbers, the intricate diagrams, the carefully written notes. A look of genuine confusion crosses his face, quickly replaced by his default setting, contempt. What is all this garbage? More of your brilliant ideas. Flowcharts for a better toilet brush. A schematic for a more efficient trash can. That's private, Marcus says, his voice low and tight. Private. Sterling laughs, a harsh, grating sound. Nothing is private on my property, on my time. Let's see what the genius has been cooking up. He walks out of the closet and into the main office area, holding the notebook aloft like a trophy. A few executives are still at their desks, preparing to leave for the day. Attention, everyone. Sterling bellows. Gather around. Professor Marcus is about to deliver a lecture on corporate finance. He begins to read from the notebook, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He butchers the technical language, turning Marcus's careful analysis into gibberish. Leveraged asset reallocation, derivative risk exposure, it's a whole new language, boys. The language of the mop bucket. The executives chuckle, but it's a strained, uncomfortable sound. This feels different. More personal. More cruel. Marcus follows him out of the closet, his face a mask of iron control. But his hands are clenched into fists at his sides, his knuckles white. He is watching years of his secret, painstaking work being turned into a burlesque show by a man who couldn't understand it if his life depended on it. And it does. He just doesn't know it yet. Sterling finishes his performance. He looks at the notebook, then at Marcus. The sneer returns, colder and more vicious than ever. He holds the notebook over the large trash receptacle by the secretary's desk. Here's what I think of your private work, Sterling says, his eyes locked on Marcus's. He rips the notebook in half. The sound of tearing paper is shockingly loud in the quiet office. He rips the halves again. And again. He lets the shredded pieces of paper, the confetti of Marcus's dreams and calculations, flutter down into the trash. He dusts his hands off, a gesture of finality. "Now," Sterling says, his voice dropping to a low, menacing growl. He takes a step toward Marcus, invading his personal space, forcing him back. "Let me be perfectly clear, because you don't seem to be getting the message. You are nothing. You push a broom. Your opinion is worthless. Your ideas are garbage." He pokes a thick finger into Marcus's chest. "Stick to mops and buckets. It's what your people are good at." The words hang in the air. Your people. It is no longer about class. It is no longer about his job. It is about the color of his skin. Sterling has stripped away the last veneer of corporate decorum and shown the ugly, racist core of his contempt. The other executives look away, suddenly fascinated by their shoes, the ceiling, anything but the raw, naked bigotry on display. Marcus does not flinch. He doesn't look away. He just stares into Arthur Sterling's eyes. The fire that had been a small ember inside him now erupts into a white-hot forge. The time for patience is over. The time for humility is over. The time for mercy is over. He looks at the shredded paper in the trash can, the can he will be required to empty later tonight. He looks at the smug, hateful face of the men in front of him. And he makes a silent, solemn vow. He will not just defeat this man. He will ruin him. He will dismantle his kingdom, brick by brick. He will tear down his throne. And he will make Arthur Sterling clean up the mess. 6 months pass. To the inhabitants of Sterling Tower, nothing has changed. The king still rules from his glass castle. The janitor still pushes his squeaking cart through the silent halls. The incident with the notebook is forgotten by all but 2 men. For Sterling, it was a satisfying assertion of dominance, now a faded memory. For Marcus, it was a declaration of war. Those 6 months are a blur of quiet, relentless activity for Marcus. His nights are no longer his own. After his shift ends at dawn, he does not go home to sleep. He goes to a small, rented office space downtown, a room with a single desk, a powerful computer, and a whiteboard covered in the resurrected and vastly expanded contents of his shredded notebook. He is not alone. He makes a call to his uncle, a man who had escaped the cycle of poverty and become a successful, if low-profile, investor. A man who had always told Marcus, "Your mind is your capital, son. Never let anyone devalue it." Marcus lays out the situation, the company's vulnerability, the CEO's hubris, and the core of his plan. His uncle listens, and by the end of the call, he is in. He provides the seed money, the introductions, the access. Marcus, using a pseudonym, begins to move. He builds a team of hungry, young analysts who know him only as Mr. Thorne, a mysterious strategist who communicates through encrypted channels. They work tirelessly, digging into every corner of Sterling Industries. They analyze its supply chains, its acquisitions, its debt. They find what Marcus already knew was there, a company rotting from the inside out, propped up by Sterling's bluster and some very creative accounting. Marcus's plan is surgical. He doesn't want to just buy the company. He wants to perform a hostile takeover so swift, so silent, that Sterling won't know what's hit him until it's too late. He identifies Sterling's latest obsession, the acquisition of a smaller tech firm, a vanity project Sterling is overpaying for, using leveraged debt that puts the parent company in a precarious position. This is the key. The fulcrum. While Sterling is focused on his shiny new toy, Marcus and his team, operating through a series of shell corporations, begin quietly buying up Sterling Industries' debt from nervous creditors. They also start acquiring a significant stake in the tech firm Sterling is targeting, driving up the price and forcing him to borrow even more. Sterling, blinded by his own ego, sees only a bidding war he is determined to win. He doesn't see the noose tightening around his neck. The day of the all-hands meeting arrives. It is meant to be Sterling's victory lap. The acquisition is complete. He has called everyone to the main conference hall on the 40th floor to gloat. The room is packed. Executives, department heads, junior employees, all summoned to bear witness to the king's latest conquest. Sterling is in his element. He paces the stage, a microphone in his hand, his voice booming through the speakers. He is triumphant. They said it couldn't be done, he proclaims, his arms spread wide. The naysayers, the doubters, the short sellers, They bet against Sterling Industries. And as always, they lost. The acquisition of Innovate Dynamics is not just a purchase, it is a statement. It is a testament to our vision, our power, our relentless drive for greatness. The room erupts in polite, obligatory applause. Marcus is in the back, near the service entrance. He is not in his gray uniform. He is wearing a simple, dark, and impeccably tailored suit. He looks like a different man. He looks like he belongs. No one notices him. He is still, in their minds, invisible. As Sterling continues his self-aggrandizing speech, Marcus gives a subtle nod to a man standing near the main doors. The man nods back. Just as Sterling is reaching the crescendo of his address, and I promise you, this is only the beginning. The grand double doors of the conference hall swing open with a heavy, decisive thud. The sound cuts through Sterling's voice, forcing him into silence. Every head in the room turns. A group of 5 people in severe business suits walks into the room. They move with an unnerving calm, their presence instantly changing the atmosphere from a corporate rally to a courtroom sentencing. Leading them is a man whose face is known to everyone in the financial world, Julian Croft, a legendary, semi-reclusive venture capitalist. A kingmaker. A man who could buy and sell Sterling Industries with his pocket change. Sterling freezes on stage, his mouth slightly agape. Julian, he stammers. What are you doing here? If you wanted a meeting, you could have called. Croft does not smile. His eyes, cold and gray as a winter sea, sweep across the room before landing on Sterling. I'm not here for a meeting, Arthur, Croft says, his voice quiet but carrying an authority that makes Sterling's booming seem hollow. I'm here for a transition. A confused murmur ripples through the crowd. Croft steps aside, gesturing to the men who had been walking behind him, a man who now steps forward into the light. It is Marcus. A wave of collective cognitive dissonance washes over the room. They see the men, and they know him. He is the janitor. But he is wearing a suit that costs more than their monthly salaries. He is standing next to Julian Croft. The two images do not compute. Their brains refuse to connect the dots. Sterling squints from the stage. Marcus. What the hell is this? Is this some kind of joke? His voice is loud, but a tremor of uncertainty has crept into it. Julian Croft raises a hand for silence. Ladies and gentlemen of Sterling Industries, he announces, his voice ringing with clarity. As of 9 a.m. this morning, a controlling interest in this company's primary creditor, as well as a majority stake in your new acquisition, Innovate Dynamics, has been acquired by my firm on behalf of our new partner. He places a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Allow me to introduce him to you. This is the new majority shareholder of this company's debt and the architect of this entire play. Mr. Marcus Thorne. Silence. A profound, absolute, suffocating silence. You could hear a stock option vest. Sterling's face goes through a rapid, brutal transformation. The confident smirk melts. The triumphant glow in his eyes dies, replaced by a flicker of confusion. The confusion gives way to dawning comprehension. And the comprehension curdles into pure, undiluted terror. The color drains from his face, leaving behind a pasty, sickly gray. He looks from Marcus to Croft and back again, his mind frantically trying to find an escape route that does not exist. The power in the room, once centered on the men on the stage, has just shifted. It has pivoted, with the force of a planet leaving its orbit, and coalesced around the quiet man in the dark suit. The janitor. The ghost has become a god. Marcus Thorne steps forward. He moves to the podium on the stage, his walk calm and measured. He adjusts the microphone, the small sound echoing in the cavernous silence. Sterling, looking shrunken and lost on his own stage, takes a stumbling step back, as if Marcus's presence is physically repelling him. Good morning, Marcus says. His voice is not loud like Sterling's. It is quiet, but it is amplified by the room's sound system and, more importantly, by the crushing weight of his newfound authority. It is the calm, precise voice of a surgeon about to make the first incision. Mr. Sterling is right, Marcus continues, his eyes scanning the sea of stunned faces. This is a day of transition. But not the one he envisioned. He gestures to the large screen behind the stage, where Sterling's triumphant company logo is still displayed. If I could have the lights dimmed, please. I have a presentation. An aide, acting on instinct and the sheer force of Marcus's command, dims the lights. The screen flickers, and Sterling's logo is replaced by a simple, stark spreadsheet. For the past 2 years, Marcus begins, Sterling Industries has been reporting a steady 7% annual growth. It is the number that has been touted to investors, to the press, and to all of you. It is also a lie. The spreadsheet on the screen expands, columns of numbers highlighted in red. What you are looking at is the reality. A company whose profit margins have been systematically hollowed out to finance a series of increasingly reckless, high-leverage acquisitions. Acquisitions designed not to create value, but to create headlines. To feed an ego. He clicks a button on a small remote. The screen changes to a complex flowchart. Mr. Sterling's signature achievement, the acquisition of the Apex Logistics portfolio last year, was hailed as a stroke of genius. In reality, it was a catastrophe. He paid 35% over market value, taking on $200 million in junk-rated debt. Why? Because his old rival from Harvard was also bidding on it. He couldn't bear to lose. A wave of gasps and murmurs sweeps through the audience. People are pulling out their phones, frantically trying to verify what they are hearing. He covered the losses, Marcus continues, his voice relentless, by implementing what the annual report called aggressive efficiency savings. What that actually meant was liquidating the employee pension fund and replacing it with a high-risk 401k plan, while simultaneously deferring critical maintenance on your factory equipment and infrastructure. He points the remote at a section of the crowd where the plant managers are seated. Ask them about the equipment failure rates over the past 18 months. Ask them about the workplace accidents that were settled quickly and quietly out of court. Sterling finally finds his voice. It is a pathetic, strangled squawk. Lies. These are all lies. Slander. I'll sue you. I'll sue you into the ground. Marcus doesn't even look at him. He clicks the remote again. An internal memo appears on the screen. It's from Sterling to the CFO. The subject line reads, "Bury it." The body of the memo explicitly instructs the finance department to misclassify the pension fund liquidation as capital restructuring revenue. It is a smoking gun. Inarguable. Criminal. The CFO, a man named Henderson who is sitting in the front row, turns a shade of white that matches the screen. "Mr. Henderson," Marcus says, his voice soft but carrying a deadly edge. "You and I have spoken. You know what comes next. Would you care to address your colleagues?" Suddenly, a new dynamic emerges. The betrayal. Henderson, seeing his own doom laid bare, chooses self-preservation. He stands up, his hands shaking. "It's true," he says, his voice trembling. "All of it. He made us do it. He threatened our jobs, our careers." Another executive stands. Then another. The numbers for the Innovate deal were cooked. He used company funds to pay for his son's gambling debts and listed it as a consulting fee. The safety reports were falsified. The confessions cascade through the room, an avalanche of truth burying Sterling where he stands. His lieutenants, the sycophants who had laughed at Marcus in the hallway, are now turning on him, one by one, desperate to distance themselves from his sinking ship. He is utterly, completely alone on the stage, a king whose courtiers are all pointing at him and shouting, "Treason!" Sterling shatters. The carefully constructed facade of the powerful, untouchable CEO cracks and falls away, revealing the pathetic, terrified man beneath. His face contorts in a mask of rage and disbelief. "Traitors," he shrieks, his voice cracking. "You spineless cowards. I made you. I gave you everything. You were nothing before me." He whirls on Marcus, his eyes wild with hate. "And you," he screams, pointing a shaking finger. "You're a janitor. A nobody. How did you do this? You stole this. You cheated. This is my company. I built it with my bare hands." His rant devolves into a sputtering, incoherent tirade. He accuses Marcus of being a corporate spy, a fraud, a thief. He mixes insults with desperate pleas, his booming voice reduced to the pathetic shriek of a cornered animal. The spectacle is horrifying, and no one can look away. They are seeing the true nature of the man they feared for so long, a hollow shell, filled with nothing but arrogance and noise. Marcus lets him scream. He stands perfectly still, letting Sterling's madness be his own indictment. He lets the entire company see the emperor, not with no clothes, but with his soul stripped bare. When Sterling finally runs out of breath, his chest heaving, his face slick with sweat, Marcus raises the remote one last time. "You asked how I did this, Arthur," he says, his voice now laced with an icy calm that is more terrifying than any shout. "You want to know what the catalyst was? The single moment that sealed your fate." He clicks the button. The screen goes black. For a moment, there is only silence. And then, a sound fills the room. It is the unmistakable, grating sound of Arthur Sterling's voice, tinny and distorted, but clear as a bell. It's an audio recording. "Let me be perfectly clear," the recorded voice says, dripping with contempt, "because you don't seem to be getting the message. You are nothing. You push a broom. Your opinion is worthless. Your ideas are garbage." A collective gasp goes through the room. They recognize the tone. They recognize the cruelty. Then comes the final, damning line. "Stick to mops and buckets. It's what your people are good at." The words echo in the stunned silence. The raw, undisguised racism of the statement hangs in the air like a toxic gas, poisoning everything it touches. It is no longer just about financial fraud. It is about human decency. It is about the soul of the company. The recording ends. The lights come up. Every eye is on Sterling. The board members, who had been listening in on a video call projected on a side screen, look on with faces of stone. The investors Julian Croft brought with him look disgusted. The employees look at the man on stage as if he is a monster. As the full weight of his public self-immolation settles upon him, 2 uniformed security guards appear on stage. They are not the company's usual guards. These are men with a different kind of authority, their movements crisp and professional. They have been hired by Croft's team. They walk toward Sterling. He looks at them, his wild eyes pleading. "No, you can't." One of the guards takes his arm. The other stands on his opposite side. The moment is surreal. The king is being arrested in his own throne room. They begin to escort him off the stage. As he passes Marcus, he stops, his face just inches away. All the rage has drained out of him, replaced by a hollow, desperate confusion. "Why?" he whispers, his voice hoarse. "All this elaborate plan, just for revenge. Because I laughed at you. Because I tore up your stupid notebook." Marcus looks at him, not with hatred, not with triumph, but with a profound and weary disappointment. "No, Arthur," he says, his voice so low only Sterling can hear it. "You're still missing the point. You didn't just tear up a notebook. You tore up a person. You decided a man's worth was based on his uniform." He pauses, letting the words sink in. "I didn't do this for revenge," Marcus says, his voice gaining strength, resonating with a final, cutting clarity. "I did this for evaluation. I valued your company. I saw it was rotten. I valued your leadership. I saw it was bankrupt. And I valued your character, and I found it was worthless. This wasn't revenge. This was a correction. The market always corrects." The guards pull Sterling away. He stumbles, a broken, sputtering man being led past the hundreds of employees he once terrorized. He is stripped of his power, his dignity, his future, all in the space of 10 minutes. The doors at the back of the hall close behind him, and Arthur Sterling is gone. The aftermath is not an aftermath. It is a cleansing. A controlled demolition of a corrupt empire and the meticulous construction of a new one on its foundations. The period that follows the all-hands meeting is not just about a change in leadership, it is a fundamental restructuring of reality for everyone connected to Sterling Industries. The fallout for Arthur Sterling is biblical in its scope. It is a swift, brutal, and deeply satisfying deconstruction of a life built on arrogance. Julian Croft's legal team, working in concert with Marcus's meticulous documentation, descends upon him with the fury of a righteous storm. He is hit with a dozen lawsuits simultaneously. The board sues him for breach of fiduciary duty. The shareholders launch a class action suit for securities fraud. The newly liberated pension fund trustees sue him for mismanagement and embezzlement. Federal prosecutors, armed with the memo about the pension fund and the confessions of his former CFO, indict him on charges of wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering. His assets are frozen. All of them. The obsidian desk is impounded as company property. The penthouse on Park Avenue is slapped with a lien. The fleet of European sports cars is towed from his heated garage. The yacht, the Invincible, is seized by U.S. Marshals while his wife is hosting a garden party on its deck. She leaves him within the week, her departure announced via a terse statement from her high-priced divorce attorney. He is disowned by the society that once celebrated him. The country clubs revoke his membership. The charity boards quietly remove his name from their letterheads. The friends who once laughed at his jokes now cross the street to avoid him. His name becomes a synonym for hubris and failure, a cautionary tale whispered at cocktail parties and in boardrooms across the country. His trial is a media circus. The audio recording of his racist tirade is played in open court, sealing his fate with the jury and the public. He is found guilty on all counts. The judge, a stern woman who seems to take personal offense at his crimes, sentences him to 25 years in a federal medium security prison. No parole. She makes a point of citing his staggering lack of remorse and profound moral decay in her sentencing remarks. Arthur Sterling, the king of the 72nd floor, trades his Italian suits for a standard-issue orange jumpsuit. His kingdom is now an 8 by 10-foot concrete cell. The sycophants who enabled him do not escape judgment. Henderson, the CFO, cooperates fully and receives a reduced sentence of 5 years, but he is disbarred from accounting for life. The other executives who confessed are all fired, their severance packages voided due to gross misconduct. They are blacklisted in the industry, their careers permanently destroyed by their association with Sterling's toxicity. They become ghosts in the corporate world, a fate they once assigned to Marcus. While the villains face their karmic reckoning, the heroes and victims are elevated. Marcus Thorne, now the official CEO of the rebranded Thorne Industries, begins his tenure not with a party, but with a series of town hall meetings. He listens. He actually listens to the plant workers, the administrative assistants, the logistics coordinators. He implements his original plan for the distribution network. Within a year, it saves the company not 30, but 40% in shipping costs, a figure that makes Wall Street sit up and take notice. The company's stock price soars. He uses the newfound profits to heal the wounds Sterling inflicted. His first act is to fully restore the original employee pension fund, making up the shortfall with his own money. He institutes a company-wide wage review, raising the minimum salary to a livable wage that far exceeds the industry standard. The entire janitorial and maintenance staff, his former colleagues, are given a significant raise and a generous grant of stock options. They are no longer invisible infrastructure, they are partners in the company's success. He creates the Second Chance Scholarship, a multi-million-dollar fund administered by the NAACP and dedicated to helping underprivileged youth with entrepreneurial dreams get the education and seed funding they need. He names the scholarship in honor of his uncle, the men who first believed in him. His leadership becomes a case study at Harvard Business School, the very institution Sterling once boasted of. It is a study on ethical turnarounds, servant leadership, and the immense, untapped value of looking for brilliance in places no one else thinks to look. Thorne Industries becomes a magnet for talent, a place where innovation and human decency are seen as two sides of the same coin. The change is not just systemic, it is personal. Marcus walks the halls of the company he now runs, and he knows people's names. He knows about their kids, their hobbies, their struggles. He eats in the company cafeteria, not a private executive dining room. The fear that once permeated the building is replaced by a palpable sense of hope and shared purpose. The kingdom of glass and ego has been transformed into a community of brick and mortar. 2 years later, the 72nd floor is unrecognizable. The obsidian desk is gone, replaced by a large, circular wooden table where Marcus holds his open-door meetings. The glass wall overlooking the city is still there, but it no longer feels like the perch of a predator. It feels like a window of opportunity. The air is lighter. You can hear laughter in the hallways. Marcus is walking through the revitalized headquarters, on his way to a meeting about a new green energy initiative. He greets a young intern by name, asking her how her proposal is coming along. She beams, telling him she's incorporated his feedback and thinks it's much stronger. He claps her on the shoulder. Good. Present it to me on Friday. If the numbers work, we'll fund it. His journey takes him downtown, to inspect a derelict office building his company is considering buying and converting into a subsidized incubator space for local startups. It's a sad, forgotten place, a tombstone for a dozen failed businesses. As he tours the dusty, empty floors with the real estate agent, he excuses himself to use the restroom. The facilities are grim, barely functional. As he's washing his hands, the door swings open and a janitor pushes a cart inside. The cart has a squeaky wheel. The sound is a jolt, a faint echo from a past life. The janitor is a man who looks 20 years older than he is. His back is stooped, his face is a roadmap of defeat, his eyes are hollow and vacant. He moves with the shuffling, joyless gait of a man who has lost everything, including hope. He is wearing a cheap, ill-fitting gray uniform stained with grime. His eyes meet Marcus's in the cracked, faded mirror above the sink. It is Arthur Sterling. He was released from prison after 18 months on a technicality related to prison overcrowding, his sentence commuted to probation. With no money, no connections, and a name that was poison, the only work he could find was this. Cleaning the toilets in the shell of a bankrupt building. A ghost in a gray uniform. For a long moment, they just stare at each other's reflections. The fallen king and the janitor who became one. The silence in the small, grim bathroom is absolute. There is no triumph in Marcus's eyes. There is no gloating smirk. There is only a profound, quiet sadness. The universe, in its own brutal, elegant way, had balanced the books. Sterling's face crumples. He looks away first, ashamed, broken. He grabs his mop, his hands trembling, and focuses on a spot on the floor as if it is the most important thing in the world. He is trying to become invisible. Marcus finishes drying his hands. He turns and walks toward the door. He pauses beside Sterling, close enough to speak. But he says nothing. Words are unnecessary. The silence says everything. He simply gives a slow, deliberate nod, a gesture of acknowledgement, of finality, of a debt paid in full. Then he walks out, leaving Arthur Sterling alone in the dim light, with his mop, his bucket, and the squeaking wheel of his cart. True value is not declared. It is proven. It is not found in a title on a business card or the altitude of a corner office. It lives in the quiet, unseen spaces, in the mind that sees a better way, in the heart that endures humiliation without breaking, in the character that refuses to be defined by the prejudice of others. Arrogance is a disease of the soul that rots a foundation from within, leaving behind a hollow structure that looks impressive right up until the moment it collapses. It is the blindfold that powerful men wear to shield themselves from the sight of their own obsolescence. And prejudice is the poison they drink, believing it will harm others, never realizing it is slowly, surely, destroying themselves. For in the grand accounting of justice, every soul is weighed, every action is measured, and sometimes, the man you dismiss as nothing is the one who holds the pen, ready to write the final entry in your ledger.